need to take him, sweetie?
Hmm?
You need to take him?
He's fine for now.
Okay.
Can you give me a like a LaCroix?
Yeah.
Afternoon. Hope everybody's doing well. I think Mike's the only one we still need to get started. Do you have a question, Mr. Schumacher?
No, I'm fine. Thank you.
Okay.
I want to exit this one. Fuck, I want to exit this Still not.
While we're waiting, I had the Missouri Advisory Council meeting this morning, and the Hazel Building, Oakwood, and O'Hara were all approved. So they will be forwarded to the Park Service.
Great.
Yeah.
Was it pretty straightforward with those?
Yeah, no revisions requested, so that was
Oh,
good.
nice. It's very
Yeah.
good. Those are great
Yay.
buildings.
I know. I was excited.
I don't know if Mike's running behind. We could get started if everybody wants to. Just get through the docket and the minutes, etc. If Amanda would like to chair.
Yeah, I can wing it. I just texted Mike, asked if
So
he was
did I.
coming. So, all right, let me pull up the agenda. Okay. I guess as vice chair of the Kansas City Historic Preservation Commission, I will go ahead and call this meeting to order. Commission members that are here today, I'm just going to go by what I see on my screen, are Sean Owens, Dr. Walter Guth, Amber Courtney, Sarah Legg, and again, I'm Amanda Laughlin, the vice chair. Do we want to go over meeting minutes? Do I need to swear anybody in?
Yes, just swearing staff.
Okay. I'll swear in the staff. Do you, Brad and Lauren, swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Awesome. Great.
I'll go through the docket for today. Before you, we have the October 23rd, 2020 minutes presented to the commission. If you have any comments or corrections before approval.
I had a couple.
Sure.
Did there need to be anything in there about me coming back into the meeting after the NR nominations?
We could add that. So
Okay.
yeah.
I think it would probably help just to clarify
the record.
docket. Yeah.
I mean, it
Sure.
said I recused myself, but I remember stepping out. But
Sure.
and then on case number 2020-00112, I abstained from that one. And then on 119, I voted for that. I think they were switched.
Ah, okay. I'll make those corrections.
Awesome. Does anyone else have any corrections or maybe a motion?
I move to accept the minutes as amended.
Do I have a second?
Second. Oh,
I heard Amber. Commissioner Courtney, did I hear your voice?
yeah, it was Sean and I at the same time. but-
Okay. So I have Dr. Guth made the motion to approve the minutes, and we'll just say it's seconded by Commissioner Courtney. Sorry, Sean. All in favor? Should we do a roll call?
Yeah.
Okay. Commissioner Owens,
Aye.
Dr. Guth,
Aye.
Commissioner Courtney,
Aye.
Commissioner Legg,
Aye.
and I also vote aye. So that's 5-0 to approve.
Thank you. Just had one administrative approval since the last meeting. And then for our regular cases, case number CH-DR-2020-00122, 3111 Coleman Road. The applicant is present. Staff is ready to proceed. Case number CH-DR-2020-00123, 804 West 33rd Street. The applicant is present and staff is ready to proceed. Case number CH-DR-2020-00124, 514 Bellefontaine Avenue. The applicant is present and staff is ready to proceed. Case number CH-DR-2020-00126, 3660 Bellevue Avenue. The applicant is present. Staff is ready to proceed. Case number CH-DR-2020-00127, 3303 Harrison Street. Staff is recommending continuance to the December 11th meeting so the applicant can finalize some alterations to his plans. Can I have a motion to that effect?
I'll move if I am able to. We need a second.
So moved.
Was that Commissioner Legg?
Yes.
Thank you. All in favor? Commissioner Owens,
Aye.
Dr. Guth,
Aye.
Commissioner Courtney,
Aye.
Commissioner Legg.
Aye.
I also vote aye.
And then the last case, CH-DR-2020-00128, 40 West 53rd Terrace. The applicant is present and staff is ready to proceed.
Okay.
So don't see Mike yet, but if you'd like to go ahead and call the first case, we
We'll
can
go
get
ahead.
started.
All right. So in case number CHDR 2020-00122 at 3111 Coleman Road in the Coleman Highlands Historic District. Bring that up and go ahead and present.
Lena Muntez is the applicant, and I'm promoting her to the panelist position.
All right. Do I need to swear her in right now or?
Yes, you can go ahead and
Okay.
swear her in first.
Elena, could
Yes.
you, are you able to turn your video on by chance?
Sure.
We want to see you. Hi.
Hi.
Would you please raise your right hand? And could you give us your name and your address for the record before we swear you in?
Elena Mutis, and my address is 10391B, North Cherry Drive, Kansas City, Missouri, 64155.
All right. And raising your right hand, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Absolutely, I do.
Awesome. Great.
We have exhibits A through Q in the staff report, but we have two new exhibits. Exhibit R, photos of other houses in the neighborhood provided by the applicant, and Exhibit S, a video of the window, which I'll show within the presentation. That's all the new exhibits we have.
All right. And any objection to admitting those to the? No objections to admitting those new exhibits.
I'll go ahead.
Commissioner, or
Sorry.
if we can just accept all the amendments and not just the new all
Okay.
exhibits, just not the new ones. A
All right.
through, I think A through S.
Yes.
So we will accept exhibits A through S
Thank
for
you.
the record. Thanks, Ms. Roulette.
So for the case, the property is at 3111 Coleman Road. It's a contributing property in the Coleman Highlands Historic District. Here's the main facade of the building. Basically has lap siding on the second story with stucco on the first story. It's kind of on an interesting curve in Coleman. So this is the main facade of the house, which is the most visibility. And these are kind of some of the surrounding properties and across the street. So in this case, the applicant has removed the non-historic metal awnings on the front of the house. The applicant proposes to paint the stucco portion, which is the lower portion of the house, a light gray color with a black front door. For the railings, there's two non-historic metal railings on the steps to the front porch. The applicant would like to remove those and install new wood railings matching the design of the existing porch railing. And then for the garage door, the applicant proposes to replace the 2-car wide overhead garage door with a raised panel metal garage door with a row of windows at the top. And then for the last part, the applicant proposes to replace the double hung windows on the house with 72 series vinyl 1/1 double hung windows. Now you can see here's the existing window and the proposed, the 1940 photographs, which you really can only see the windows in the gable end. And then she also submitted these close-ups of the existing windows. And then let me play this. This is the video that she submitted. So the proposal to remove the non-historic awnings is in conformance with standard number 2. The proposed paint scheme is compatible with the house and district and in conformance with standards 2 and 5. The metal railings are not a historic feature and the removal is in conformance with standard number 2. And the wood railings that match the design of the historic railing would be in conformance with standards 2 and 9 with the condition that the final design of the wood railing be submitted to staff. And the proposed garage door is compatible with the house and the district, noting in conformance with standard number 9, noting that it is minimally visible from the public right of way. For the windows, photographs of the existing windows show cracked panes, broken ropes, and peeling paint. The photos did not indicate extensive wood rot or sashes in violation of standards 2 and 6. While the windows will match the double hung configuration of the existing, they will not have matching buttons in partial violation of standard number 9. A staff would recommend repairing the windows on the front west facade and the western half of the north and south facades, and only using a replacement on the rear facade and sleeping porch to bring the project into conformance. So in particular, the front windows and probably at least the first row back from the front, given kind of the curve of the street and the visibility, just to repair those windows. And then the windows further back on the house could be replaced with the proposed window. And that concludes the staff report.
Thank you, Mr. Wolf. Are there any questions from the commission regarding the staff report for Mr. Wolf? Commissioner Legg?
It says on the docket that they are replacing window and doors. Did they specify which doors?
Actually, that was actually nothing that's going to be visible. So actually, no, they're not doing any doors that'll be visible from the public right away.
No, we decided to just paint the doors.
Yeah.
And leave them. They're in pretty good shape.
And have you requested additional photos of the windows for every single window that they're trying to replace?
Yeah, there's, may I?
No,
Yeah.
we'll get to you in just a second.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll
I
have
think
Brad
she-
answer, and then we'll give you a chance to
There
provide
wasn't a
testimony.
list of rules.
That's
We're
right.
all winging it.
I'll be quiet.
You're fine.
So yeah, I think she is planning to submit some more additional windows, photos of wood rot. That's what I have at the moment, though.
Any other questions from the commission for Mr. Wolf? Okay, Ms. Mutez, Ms. Mutez, if you would like, Mutez, if you would like to speak to your project.
Well, the thing with the windows is there's 36 windows in the whole house, and it's a beautiful house, and we're so excited we get to work on it and make all the improvements that we want to make. The windows that are on the front of the house, that I think those are the ones that there was the most concern about. Most of the windows are either non-functioning, broken glass, the pulley ropes, there's wood rot. I mean, there's certainly wood rot. None of the photos that our project manager submitted showed the detail of that wood rot, but I do have some pages from the inspection of the home that indicate the damage and the wood rot. And then our project manager he's gonna get out there and get some more photos, more detail of the wood rot. So that's where we're at with it. Everything else is going along good. The only question here is the windows.
Okay. Do we have any questions from the commission for the applicant? Commissioner Owens.
Yes, I have a question.
Sure.
Specific for me, the greatest concern, I'm concerned with all the windows and the replacement, but the area that really seems most important to me are those 2 second-story windows on the front facade. would you be open to committing to restore those two at a minimum?
Do you mean the ones at the very, very top on the,
Those are actually also important, but I'm talking about the second story.
oh, I see, okay. The ones with the
Diamond,
detail.
yes.
I think that Dan and Michelle, who are the owners of Reveille Homes, would be open to that, but it may, I mean, we haven't even looked into that because they're just all in such bad shape. What we may be able to do is to find something that has some of that architectural detail on the window. On a replacement window.
Just FYI, I did a little quick research on it, and it looks like Andersen Windows does make something very similar, and it's a custom window, so you could probably model it right after those windows if that ended up being the direction the commission points you. But I think a full restoration of those windows would be probably what most of us prefer. At least that's what I would prefer. So
what do you mean by full restoration? Like just
like if there's a broken window.
I'm not a construction person. I'm the operations manager for
Sure.
3 businesses, and I'm representing. So and that's fine, but I just, if you could give me a little detail so I can pass that
What
on.
I mean is if there's a broken window, a piece of glass in one of those windows, to replace the glass, or if the ropes are broken, get that fixed as opposed to removing the window.
Right. Now, most of the windows do have those pulleys. And are we talking just the two windows on the second story facing the street?
My fellow commissioners may bring up additional windows, but what I'm talking about specifically, my greatest concern are those 2 windows on the second floor facing the street.
And
Right.
I might just interject here that all of the windows on the front are what staff has recommended to be restored, because I think that the one on the ground, the first floor, also has that decorative mutton pattern. Is that correct, Brad?
It's not that one, but it has, let me go back.
It's just a divided light.
Yeah.
It is. But mostly it's just the applicant's proposing no grids at all.
Right.
So I think it'd be preferable at least to keep the pattern.
Yes.
So
At a minimum.
you would want the look, I guess, of how those 2 windows are. I don't know what that's called. Half paned? Is that how?
Divided light.
Yeah.
Divided light. Okay. Divided light. Interesting. So, but that being said, these windows, where do you draw the line of, because we our project manager also took photos of several similar houses with the kind of, standard double hung vinyl windows installed. So I guess, what is the difference between restoring a window that's not operable and in really bad shape with getting the new windows in? What is the?
Sure. I think there's a couple things to look at. One,
I see you, Walter.
we'd have to go back and see if we approved them all, but they actually got the permits. But the other is a lot of windows actually don't have those divided lights originally. They're just very simple windows. So they might have been matching the original design when they replaced them. Yours actually has that grid pattern. So usually what we recommend is you at least match the design. But a lot of houses don't have that. Yours just happens to have fairly elaborate windows, which is actually, even the design of these is unusual for the neighborhood. They're pretty distinctive.
Really?
Yeah.
Mhm.
So that's why it's a really character defining feature of the house, and to remove those would really have an impact on the historic characters. So
Right, and well, it's kind of hard to see, like if you can see that original photo from what, you know, the photo of the
1940?
house. Yeah. It's hard to see, you know, what from that photo, what it, you know, what the windows even looked like.
yeah, the only ones you can really see are those very upper ones in the gable end, and that seems to match the existing pattern.
Right.
The two that are left, but you're right, you can't see any of the others. No.
Okay, well, what we would like to do is give you guys a little clearer picture on, you know, the extent of the wood rot, especially on these front ones, and then come to some kind of determination of how we can, you know, cost effectively get something on the front of the house to replace what's there that is going to comply with you folks.
So it sounds like that might be something we consider as a continuation. Commissioner Legg, did you have a question? I know you raised your hand before Dr. Guth did. So by your hand.
Yeah, I just want to make a couple comments. A lot of the photos that were shown, it's going to be a lot less expensive just to replace some pulleys and a piece of broken glass than it would be to replace an entire window that honestly is not going to last 20 years. I mean, it'll have broken.
Yeah, I have no idea on that.
When it comes to original windows, if you keep your original windows and put a storm window over it, if there's a concern about efficiency, that would also be another option. Getting those windows functioning again and adding a storm window would be a cost-effective way to maintain the exterior appearance while maintaining also limited airflow, if that's what the owner is concerned about. And I agree. I think all of the windows on the front facade of the house, and I think it was the north facade, the way that road curves, or was it the south facade, should remain extant. And obviously we do need to see further evidence of that wood rot, I think in this instance, to approve replacement of the windows.
Okay, so right now, if they can replace, repair it by, you know, and I don't know how much wood rot is on those front windows. I don't. And our inspection report doesn't do that. That's why I had to get a hold of our project manager today, because it does say wood rot, but it doesn't, it gives one picture of one window and it doesn't say which of the 36 windows. But I know that there is wood rot. I just don't know how extensive it is on that.
If you do, if it's one part of the window that has wood rot, there are places in town that will fix that. And that may also.
Oh, we know how to fix that. We're a renovation company also. Okay. You know, we can do those kind of things. But generally, when we get a property and it's in that, you know, much disrepair, we just replace it. So it's more energy efficient, and you know, that's why we're here. That's why we submitted with the double hung vinyl windows that would be the same size. There wouldn't be any difference of the configuration of where the windows are. So
I think Dr. Guth, did you want to interject here?
Absolutely. I'm not sure that the applicant understands our purpose and what authority we have on this situation in terms of that we want those windows restored if at all feasible. And staff has access to people who can totally rebuild those windows for you. Cost effectiveness is not our concern. Our concern is
well, it is ours.
I understand that. And there is may I please? Sure. Thank you. It is not our concern in this meeting if it becomes your concern, then there is a different way to approach it, and staff can tell you that. Right now, what I hear is argumentation as to why you want to replace it with vinyl. I'm going to say you're not going to get that through today because many of us are opposed to that idea if there is a possibility of saving the windows and saving the historicity of the building. You need 5 votes for you. And I'm going to tell you, I'm not going to with what I'm hearing today. So my recommendation would be continuance on the issue of the windows, or sending it over to staff for them to review the situation after you have provided full documentation of the deterioration of the window frames itself.
Right, and I do, thank you. I do totally understand, you know, what your purpose is. I get that, and I love that. I think that's hugely important to have things in place, so you know people aren't doing weird things to those beautiful old areas in our beloved Kansas City. So I need to pass on the information on. So your goal is always, and correct me if I'm wrong, restoration above replacement.
Repair before replace, yes, if possible.
Okay.
And if replacement does need to occur, then that needs to be documented, specifically which windows need to be replaced, how bad the deterioration is. And we just don't have that information right now. So I think I'm leaning towards, and we can again discuss this amongst our commission, just continuing that, allowing you and your client to work with city staff to determine what kind of documentation, how much more documentation we might need. And then we can come back next month and kind of discuss that more.
We were kind of like, okay, what is it that you need? You know, we didn't have much to go on. So we got as much together as we could to present to you, you know, and I'm sure you are very aware when a house is over 100 years old, there's going to be stuff happening that's not good for the house.
And that's why we're here, is to kind of mitigate that. We want to help make sure that the buildings are restored within these historic districts and kept up and stuff. But we want to make sure that the changes that occur to them are compatible with the building and the historic nature of it. So that's why we're here, to kind of work with you on that.
Right.
So, Commissioner Owens, did you have a comment on this?
Just a quick comment, and it's sort of a response to the to our applicant. You mentioned that typically you would just rip out the windows for vinyl windows on a typical project. I just wanted to reiterate that this is not a typical project. And I think everybody else already kind of went through this, but I think that comment kind of stuck out in my head, that I just want you to make sure you understand this is not a typical house. It's not a typical neighborhood. And this is the process we must go through. And
sure,
we don't recommend replacing any of the windows on the front or the west side.
Now, which side is the west side? Is that looking at it?
Or I'm sorry, the front is the west side. The north side, I believe, is the other side that we want to protect. And hey,
So
I'd want to
as
protect
you're-
every single window on the house if it was really up to me. But
Right.
really, we're going to need more documentation of the rot no matter what. So I'm pretty sure we're going to continue the window portion of your application, but we'll discuss that in just a moment here.
Okay.
Commissioner Guth, did you have another question or anything else to say? Your hand was still up in the panel. So, okay. Were there any other questions about anything else in the proposal that we needed to discuss with the applicant? Commissioner Legg?
Sorry, I'm comfortable with having city staff take a look at the railings and approve as needed, as they had recommended, and everything else seems pretty straightforward. I do like the paint scheme with the dual color, because it kind of enhances the fact that it is a shirtwaist home. And that's my comment.
Awesome. Okay, if there is nothing else to talk to the applicant, I wondered if there was any public testimony, anybody that wants to speak to this case.
Yes, let me, Ms. Kenyon wants to talk. I'll promote her to the panelist.
Okay.
Here we are.
Hello, Ms. Kenyon. Are you able to unmute and turn on your video?
I don't have video handy right now. I apologize.
That's okay. Can you just state your name and address for the record?
Yes, Stacy Kenyon, 3420 West Coleman Road.
And do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, and I'm holding up my right hand.
All right, I'll trust you. Go ahead.
Thank you. I'm a neighbor to the property. I'm president of Coleman Highlands Neighborhood Association, and we're excited to see this house get, maybe we'll call it some overdue love that it needs. It is a nice house. It's in a great spot, like you guys have mentioned a couple times on the curve. Some of these improvements that they are proposing sound really great. Removing those awnings, the railing, and the color will be a nice touch to the house. I did want to kind of ask, if I may, there was no mention of painting the garage, and I believe the garage is stucco. So if the house is being painted gray on the stucco, I was wondering if the garage would be too. And, but also just before I'm finished speaking, like what I hear on the Preservation Commission panel, we really support preserving these windows, and just like in the staff report, agree, like on the back side of the house and the sleeping porch, understood replacing those with vinyl and everything. But in terms of the windows in the front, if you look through the neighborhood, there are a lot of other people with windows in pretty much that condition. I've got windows that might be in a little worse condition. If I might suggest options, just like the panel has, there are options to add storm windows. Adding storm windows is much more cost effective than replacing the windows. Resources in a neighborhood, we've got like 5 different people that we know and that neighbor or windows. I'm not saying those people live in a neighborhood, but there are resources for restoring windows in the neighborhood. Even a carpenter, a simple carpenter, maybe not a windows expert, can do some restoration on those that would avoid having to replace with vinyl. So we would like to see those windows saved also.
Great. And maybe after or somehow you guys can connect and maybe share some of that information about those windows. Okay.
Certainly.
Awesome. Thank you for your testimony. And Brad, just a clarification there, was there anything discussed in the staff report about the garage being painted, or is that, I don't remember
I guess I didn't have
that.
it specifically in there, but I can work with the applicant if it on the.
Yeah, I don't think that if we wouldn't be changing, it would all match the house. If the garage needs painting, then they're going to paint it, and it would be, whatever is the color of the house that.
I think the garage is stucco, so I think they're wondering if it's going to be gray as opposed to the white that it is currently. I guess was the only question. So I think both would be fine in staff. So
okay. Dr. Guth, did you have a question? Okay. Very good. Well, we'll close the floor to testimony then, and then I'll invite the commission to discuss what options or what we want to do. I think, oh, wow, so many. Commissioner Legge, I think you put your hand up first.
Dr. Guth, did you have your hand raised still or did you have a comment?
She does.
You're muted.
There we go.
No, that was my mistake. I'm sorry. Okay. Go ahead, Sarah.
To be fair. So as I always say, just for the record, we do need, I'm good with continuing the window thing, but just to kind of keep the documentation there for future cases that are similar to this one, as much documentation on the wood rod is much preferred to add to the file.
Great. Commissioner Owens?
I was prepared to make a motion, but I won't do that just yet. I think in addition to documentation of the wood rot, if the applicant thinks the wood rot is bad enough to replace any of those windows on the front, I think instead of proposing 1/1s with no divided lights, I think I'd like to see a proposal of something that matches what's existing for our consideration, so we don't have to continue it twice. So I would like them to pay attention to that idea. And whenever the time comes, I'm happy to make the motion. We'll see what happens here.
Okay. Commissioner Courtney, did you have a question?
I was mostly just going to say what everyone else has said, that we should continue the windows. So we need evidence, and definitely the ones on the front should be restored if possible. And the rest of it sounds good. And yeah.
Great. Thank you. Okay, Dr. Guth, your hand is up. You're muted.
I like Commissioner Owens' idea and would totally support that. So I'd like to see that added to the
Very good.
motion.
All right, with that, Commissioner Owens, do you want to make that motion?
I do, but one more question for the commission. Should we go ahead and give them permission to replace the windows on the rear of the house so they can get that started, or should we have everything window related be continued?
I think the back, the porch, we can't really say what they can and cannot do, right? Since it's not visible from the right of way.
Yeah, generally it would have little or no visibility, that rear sleeping porch area. So yeah, if they wanted to get started on that portion and get those ordered, we could go ahead and approve that portion.
I'll include that in my motion.
Okay.
And if we need to make an amendment, of course we can do that. So, all right. Well, in case number CHDR, or no, it's not. Sorry, case number 2020-00122. This is 3111 Coleman Road within the Coleman Heights Historic District. I propose, I move that the commission approve a certificate of appropriateness to remove the awnings, paint the exterior, and replace the garage doors, as these are in conformance with the Secretary of Interior Standards for Rehabilitations numbers 2, 5, and 9. And also, I move that we approve the replacement of the porch railings, noting that the final design should be submitted to staff for approval. In addition, I move that we approve the replacement of the windows on the rear of the home and the sleeping porch, as that is acceptable. And I move that we continue the rest of the window work to the next meeting, and that we see more evidence of window rot, and perhaps a different proposal for replacement of the windows if that is the direction we go.
Okay, can I make a friendly amendment?
Sure.
That in regards to painting of the garage, that they work with staff if that's needed.
I accept that amendment.
Okay. So we have a motion from Commissioner Owens to approve the certificate of appropriateness for the awnings, for the paint of the house, with the caveat that they'll work with staff if the painting of the garage needs to be done, approving the garage door and the replacement of the rear windows and sleeping porch, and the approval of the railings with the final design with staff, and that we're going to continue the replacement or restoration of the remaining windows on the house. Correct? Right. Dr. Guth?
I believe we need to add the address of the property. I don't think Commissioner Owens added the address.
I did.
Did you?
Yeah, in the beginning.
He did.
3111 Coleman
Okay,
Road.
sorry.
No problem.
Did you want a second? Who said that?
Sarah.
Hey, all right. Commissioner Legg seconds it. All right, so we'll do a roll call vote. Commissioner Owens, how do you vote?
Aye.
Dr. Guth? You're muted again.
Aye.
Commissioner Courtney?
Aye.
Commissioner Legg?
Aye.
And I also vote aye. So that's 5-0. And we look forward to seeing you next time with some more information on those windows.
Okay, and I'll be sending information to Bradley as we go along. And thank you very much.
Thank
Thank
you.
Are we
Okay.
done with me now?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay. Thanks,
thank
guys.
you.
All right. So in case number CHDR 2020-00123, 804 West 33rd Street in Coleman Highlands.
The applicant is present and I'm promoting him to a panelist.
Okay.
Mr. Kearns.
All right, Mr. Kearns, there you are. Do you want to raise your right hand and state your address, name and address for the record, please?
Sure. It's Troy Kearns, and it's 804 West 33rd Street, Kansas City, Missouri.
All right. Would you raise your right hand?
Yeah,
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Great. Thank you. All right, Mr. Wolf.
You have exhibits A through O in the staff report with one new exhibit, Exhibit P, which is a petition of support from some of the neighbors
All right.
to be admitted for evidence.
Are there any objections to admitting all of these exhibits A through P to the record? Okay, no objections. They're admitted and we can proceed with the staff report.
Property address is 804 West 33rd Street. It's a contributing property in the Coleman Highlands Historic District. This is basically at the corner of 33rd in the traffic way. This is the main facade on the left that is current, and this is on the right before. This is the fencing that's installed. This is the auto gate. And this is the 1940 tax assessor photograph showing the house. So basically the applicant had approval for removing an outbuilding, repairing stucco in windows, and constructing a privacy fence in basically in April of this year through their administrative process. The applicant has changed part of that scope of work that was originally proposed, and he's coming back to get that approved. So the house was painted a white. The applicant changed the trim color from a white color to a dark brown trim. The applicant is also requesting to paint the brown brick on the first story a white color to match the body of the upper part of the house. The applicant also has removed a non-original window on the north end of the east facade. This is the facade that faces the traffic way, and infilled it with brick. The applicant also requests approval. He basically received approval for a 6-foot privacy fence, but it was basically from the rear corner of the porch to the backyard. As built, actually the fence extends into the front yard. It surrounds the side porch along the traffic way. And the applicant also added a auto gate on the west side of the house across the driveway. That's part of it is over 6 feet in height. And then the fencing was stained a dark brown color. The brown trim with an off-white body is appropriate to the style of the house in the district and conforms to standards 2 and 5. The existing brick is unpainted. Secretary of Interior standards do not recommend applying paint or other coatings to stucco or masonry that is historically unpainted. or is uncoated. Therefore, the proposal to paint the brick is in violation of standards 2 and 5. Staff would recommend leaving the brick unpainted. The window on the east facade at the north end was not a significant feature, therefore, and was not original. Therefore, its removal is in conformance to standard number 2. The opening was filled with matching brick. It's located in a secondary area that is not significant. Therefore, the removal of the window and filling the brick is in conformance to standards 2 and 9. The auto gate is located on the side of the house across the driveway and would not obscure any significant features in partial conformance to standards 2 and 9. The height of the gate is above the 6 feet recommended in the fencing guidelines. Staff would recommend lowering the height to 6 feet to bring it into conformance. The privacy fence is mostly located in the backyard and uses compatible material in partial conformance to standards 2 and 9. But the portion of the fence that extends into the front yard alters the significant face in violation of standard number 2. Staff would recommend removing the portion of the fence back to match the front of the side porch to bring the project into conformance. That concludes the staff report.
Okay. I have a question, Brad, or Mr. Wolf. The port or the fence that was approved back in April, we approved this and it was just not built as we approved it, or could you explain that? Okay.
We approved a privacy fence in the backyard, but basically it was altered from that original approval design.
Okay.
So basically it's extending out into the front yard now. As you can kind of see here, that's the front side of the house. And it kind of surrounds the side porch here.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Commissioner Owens, did you have a question?
Yes, I do. That side porch that it's encapsulating, is that an open plan style porch, or is it screened or glassed, or?
No, it's an open porch.
See, well, aesthetically, it doesn't look great. If we just bring the fence up to the corner of that porch, I mean, it's not doing anything. Someone could simply walk onto their porch and get into their backyard that way. So I kind of understand their need for this. And I'm a little conflicted on what you would maybe recommend that they do to mitigate that issue.
Basically, another option would be, of course, to do some type of infill on that portion of the porch that would be opened back up, whether it's a railing or lattice work or something along those lines to prevent people from coming in would be an option. Yeah.
I kind of just wanted to point out the reason that they probably did that. Also,
yes.
This is not a four square style house, but the having the different material on the first floor, would you still consider this to be a shirtwaist house?
No, this is almost falling into a colonial revival,
right?
Because it has kind of a symmetrical pattern to it.
Okay.
It's a little late for the shirtwaist, and you don't really have that flare with the stucco and the brick. So I probably just call this kind of a colonial revival builders type of design. So
sure. Okay. Just curious about the second question. Thank you.
Any other questions for staff? If not, Mr. Kearns, if you'd like to speak to your project.
Yeah. So thank you guys for taking the time to listen to what I have to say today. So first, let me apologize to staff for going away from what we submitted. That had to do with, originally I had hired a contractor to submit the fence plans to Mr. Wolf. I was in Las Vegas, and that's where my house was, and it is currently now there, and now here. And so when I got to the project, obviously exactly what, I forget who just spoke about it, but I have my dog in the car with me. It's a pretty important part of my life, and I've got 2 twin 7-year-olds, and I'm on Southwest Traffic Way, which is probably the busiest street in Kansas City in terms of traffic and speed. And I just felt like I had to do something like that so that my dog didn't run out, my kids didn't run out, and nobody came into the house.
Yeah.
And I didn't even think to resubmit. I didn't think we had changed anything. I just kind of went with it. So that's my fault, 100% my fault for not doing that. And Mr. Wolf made me aware of it, and I, kind of got a little bit of abrasive just because it's my family. And I was like, I got to protect my family no matter what. And I was like, our plan is not to live in it permanently. And so if it needed me to move it down the road, I don't have a problem. But I think whoever's going to buy the house it's a huge, huge benefit, because you're on, like, basically what my wife was worried about is one of these cars coming off the road and hitting our house, She wanted me to put like cement in the back there and everything. So that is the issue that we face. I think that, safety has to take a first effort. For my family, safety always has to take first effort for me. That's why I felt like the fence was okay, and we could probably work through it if I was able to explain myself right, or if we could do something that doesn't aesthetically. As far as the brick is concerned, I really don't want to paint the brick. It just looks hideous when you're up close on it. I didn't change any of the windows because number one, I thought it was going to be more inexpensive to not put new windows in. And so we put all the windows back the way they are, with the exception of the other one that got bricked in. But because you can't find that same brick, and I've talked to probably 25 different brick guys, there's no way that I have found, with exception of possibly individually staining it one by one, which even is not a guarantee, to bring the brick to be a uniform look. And what I'm looking for is a uniform look, or what I think would be a better look. If you look at it, look like a big old patched house, which is fine if that's the way the commission wants it. I just think it'll look better if it was painted. And I'm open to suggestions. And that's really all I have to say.
Thank you. Any questions for the applicant from the commission?
Do we have a closer photo of the brick that he's proposing to paint, Brad?
I could drive over there right now. I was sitting in front of this, and I could flip it around. I could be there in about 2 minutes as you guys are doing this.
Let me see if I have.
I guess while we're looking for that, one of my questions is, have you looked into cleaning the brick? It looks like there may be some debris or just natural growth that's occurred on the brick. So I'm just curious if there's been any attempt to clean it.
Yes, we did clean it originally. We pressure washed it and then cleaned it with some acid as well. And the problem is, because the brick, what happens is it's porous, right? So brick is porous. And so that's probably one of the best part. That part actually is going to get painted right there. But in the back, most of the brick is porous, and so it's opened up. And the only way to either redo it, you'll still have the same discoloring problems. And that's actually not the bad part of it. The bad part is the area covered by the fence. But I will be there in about 2 seconds, and I can show you exactly live what it looks like. So,
do we have to submit that as another?
Yeah, I'd be happy to.
Exhibit.
Exhibit, yeah.
Yeah, and we're recording it, so we'll be capturing it as an exhibit. So
it looks like there's maybe some sort of concrete that oversprayed or something from the front.
What it looks like.
yeah.
That's what I was going to ask, is what is that grayness? Because at least from the pictures, otherwise I don't think it looks bad, except for that weird light gray.
Yeah, it's because when you patch old brick in to new brick, like I had to research exactly the most similar brick I could find, which is called Black Beauty brick. And I went to about 4 or 5 different brick places, and they're just like, everything. It's unlike windows when they discontinue brick and old parts and stuff like that. It's almost impossible to match it. Unless you, like I said, can stain it. But even having guys out there, they're like, it's impossible because it's lost so much of its volume.
Yeah. Here's basically a shot before work started. So You can see
Yeah.
what it was like beforehand.
Yeah.
Or kind of midway through.
Oh, all right.
That's a bad repair job on that mortar there.
Yeah. I said the main part that was painted was the part in the porch because it was at one time enclosed and was opened back up a number of years ago.
Commissioner Owens, you have your hand up.
Yep, got a couple questions.
Right.
First of all, I know in some other projects we've recommended or allowed whitewashing of the brick. And I was wondering if the applicant would be open to that idea. That's not harmful to the brick like painting it would be.
Totally open to it.
You would be? Okay, because that would give it a more uniform look and kind of hide the imperfections. I'm not sure if that would be exactly right for the style of home. So I could, in a moment when we discuss, see what the other commissioners think, but it was just an idea I had. Another question for the applicant. Would you be open to moving that fence back if you did add something like lattice or screens or something to the front of your porch?
The problem is I'm on Southwest Traffic Way. It's a
right.
It's a huge, and I'm gonna reverse my camera right now if I can.
And I do know the house very well, so I'm very familiar with it and the setting and everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just worry about my family safety if something happens to it. I mean, I'm open to moving anything. In terms of trying to work with people, that I'm here to do is try to work with them. So I'm pulling up right now. Can you guys see where I'm at? I don't know. I can't see it from my phone. So let me get out of here real quick. So you just look about, can you guys see what I'm looking at?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So this is just like the old brick is pretty much everywhere. And there's all these scabbed in things from just a lot of different people.
Mm-hmm.
You can see close up here. Like see how porous it is? So you can't really do anything because all the porous is gone. So you got all this old brick. And then you got your new brick here, which so it just looks not as historic as it should, And so I thought, obviously I want to look at the best way to do it.
If I could mention, painting brick that is that porous would not be good for the lifespan of your brick. It's going to trap moisture and cause a lot of problems down the road. So that's another reason I was suggesting perhaps the whitewashing if the rest of the commission would agree on that option.
And then this is the fence line we're talking about right here. So if it just went to here, then, number one, what you're looking at from a view is, Southwest Traffic Way. And number two is you're kind of exposed. So.
Can you show us where the fence goes in front of the porch and how much space is between the fence and the front of the porch?
Does that help you?
How far from the porch is the fence currently?
In the front there, yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Probably 12 feet, I would guess.
I think we're talking about the front of your house.
Outside, yeah, the south side of the house.
Oh, over here?
Yeah.
It's probably 5 or 6 feet. Right here.
Would you be able to move the fence back that length of?
So right like here?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I could do that.
And I think that's what all they that would need to happen to make it in compliance, so it's not in the front yard itself, if
Yes.
that makes sense.
I just would ask that I could do it when I sell it. Just if that's an issue. I mean, I would really like to keep it this way. I think that whoever is going to move here is going to want it, but if you guys insist on it, I'm not going to fight it.
Well,
Yeah. The problem is that it's not in conformance with the standards that we have in the district, and so that's what we're trying to bring it into conformance. So that's why we would request, we would deny it as is.
I believe past this commission, it's a violation with the city. in their
Okay.
zoning, isn't it, Brad?
Yeah, we actually have a 4-foot height limit for front yards, so.
So, but this, I don't see how it changes anything other than it just,
I mean,
it's going to be the same look from the outside. It's just
Well-
going to be shorter in.
and technically it's only supposed to be 4 feet, right, Brad? I mean,
Yeah,
so
Yeah.
6
Have to get a
feet in the
variance.
back is a compromise.
Okay.
The other difference is we'll see your side porch from the front of the house instead of it being obscured by the fence.
Yeah.
So from a visual standpoint, which is what a lot of what we're concerned about, we'll see your side porch and it won't be covered.
Commissioner Courtney, did you have a question? Your hand was up a minute ago.
Yeah, I wasn't sure. I guess I was just because I might have been late because I was trying to make the video bigger. But did you show the brick on the front of the house too, or just because I think what we were looking at was like the back and the side earlier, right?
the initial one I showed was actually the front of the house. Let me go
Right,
back.
that picture was. I guess I just meant when he was walking around.
Yeah, it
Um,
was on the side and the back, yes.
Okay, because overall, aside from around the windows, the front doesn't look as bad as the sides from the pictures. But
Let me show it to you. I'm right here.
And then is there, I know we talked about whitewashing, is there a product that's similar that would be like whitewashing but with color? Like a dark brown or black to match the existing brick?
You can get, there's the more permeable mineral or masonry paints that you can get in multiple colors. I'm not sure about lime wash. I would actually have to research if it can come in a different, if you can get it in a different pigment besides the white.
I agree with Sean's comment about the fact that the brick was power washed and acid washed, and the porosity, I don't know if that's a word, of the brick.
It is.
Ooh, English. Yeah, painting that is just all that brick is gonna start falling and flaking off or something. You know, kind of like that stone, like you see it a lot where people have painted it.
And then painting over where the cementitious mortar looks like it's splattered all over the brick. Like I would like, I think, is it muriatic acid that removes cement? Like getting that cleaned
Yeah.
off. Do any other commissioners have questions for the applicant? If not, we can open the floor up to public testimony if anyone in the audience wishes to speak to this case.
If I could interject real quick before we go to public testimony, just as a procedural note, if you all can, I think it would be Exhibit Q would be like the video tour of the applicant, if you can do that, just so we've got it for the record.
Is there any objection to adding Exhibit Q, which was a tour of the house, to the record from commissioners?
I'm sorry, that cut out. What did you guys just say?
I was asking the commission if we had any objection to admitting the tour that you did of the house as an exhibit. It would be Exhibit R. No, Exhibit Q. R. Brad, help me out.
It's R. Actually, we had one in the
Okay.
exhibit already, yes.
Exhibit R
Did we?
to the
Okay.
record. Okay.
Sorry.
It is so admitted. Exhibit R. Thank you, Mr. Roulette. Okay, now if there's any member of the audience who wishes to speak.
Here, let me
I
switch
thought I saw a
here.
hand.
Here we go. There we go. I'm promoting Ms. Kenyon to a panelist so she can testify.
Oh, great. Do I need to re-swear her in?
We could just note she was previously sworn.
Okay. So Ms. Kenyon, you were previously sworn in, so if you would like to give a testimony to this case.
Thank you for letting me speak. Just wanted to check in on a couple of things. I understand, some of the changes that were made. The window was a little bit of a surprise, but I get it. To me, the two biggest concerns, one is the auto gate, which I understand that you guys have already addressed the height issue. I wasn't even looking at that, but there's been issues while they've been working on the house. There's been issues while they haven't been working on the house with that gate. Now that the gate's there, they don't really go through, I don't know, maybe they do go through it, but a lot of times there's a car park and sometimes it does block the sidewalk, and it is a kind of a pedestrian heavy neighborhood, and the outswing design of that door, or the auto gate, and the fact that it's not technically on the side of the house, it's technically kind of in front of the house, just barely in front of the plane. So for them to be able to open it, they got to park on the block the sidewalk just a little bit. So I wanted to bring that up. If they're going to be adjusting the height of it, I didn't know if there was a chance of adjusting it to make it in swing instead of out swing. It's just kind of a safety feature. So I wanted to. And also the fence is a big disappointment because it ends up putting a big wall at the entrance to our neighborhood. It's not an especially welcoming wall. Just like you have already discussed, there was a fence approved. It was a 6-foot fence, and it was supposed to be from the back corner of the house directly. This whole property is actually a double-sized lot. So this fence, not only is it, enclosed.
I think you're breaking up, Ms. Kenyon, you're breaking up.
Thank you, Google Fiber. I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
So I understand and do sincerely sympathize with the safety of his family and his dog. And I respect that, and I would feel the same too. But if you look at the front of the house, there's a porch on the west side, there's a porch on the east side. I don't know if by definition those porches are considered an architectural feature, but the symmetry to me is a feature. And so when we have the fence in front of it, it's blocking an architectural feature. Now, if you look at where the fence was originally approved and it would have been taken straight back, there's already a door into the backyard that the kids and the dog can go in and out of. And the size of that yard with it fenced in as approved would be actually almost a large backyard for Coleman Highlands standards. But instead it's been built out and it's been built high. So it does seem like not only are we looking at a 6-foot high, which is variance from the 4 feet, but front, it's kind of like doubly not what was approved. I think it would be fair to ask him to just build it the way it was approved originally, or if he needs to bring it up and enclose part of the porch, which is somewhat of an architectural feature, it should be brought down to 4 feet and not 6 feet. And then I did also, I don't want to challenge anybody's fact checking. I didn't get out there with a measuring tape, but I did see something about in the report, it says the fence is set back 65 feet from the sidewalk. And just by pacing it, I came at about 50 feet. So it's not a historic district welcome with that 6-foot high fence blocking us as you enter our neighborhood. I think that's all I've got for today.
Right. Thank you, Ms. Kenyon.
Can I speak?
Yes.
All right. So the other point was you saw how it looked before you walked into the neighborhood. And that's why I submitted those exhibits from all of my neighbors. It seems that the only person I've really had a problem with is Miss Kenyon, which I offered to meet her at the property and go over, and she didn't show up. So I waited out there for 2 hours for her to go over a bunch of things that she had concerns about, and she never showed up. And so I was willing to do whatever it took, and now she's got a problem with it. Well, all of my neighbors don't have walked by and only complimented me about how great of a job we've done, including people who have been here for years and years and have streets named after them. And before, it was the biggest eyesore in the community. So the fact that she's got such a big problem with everything doesn't mean she's trying to solve the problem. It just seems like she's got a vendetta on something, and I really don't understand the issue here at all. I mean, there's obviously things that need to be corrected, but I mean, she's out there surveying my house every day, checking everything out. It's like, geez Louise, you know what I mean? We're trying to get along out here, you know, and I got everybody else paying me compliments and saying what a great job I've done and how it's been the biggest blight in the neighborhood. And now it's been improved into one of the nicer houses in the neighborhood. And if she lived on Coleman, on Southwest Traffic Way, and what I suggest is possibly redoing that intersection so that it doesn't have a main entry point off 33rd and fix that issue. Because right now they've got people cutting up through, there's much bigger issues than my house having a fence around it, you know? And I just find it very menacing, the behavior that's been exposed and seen by Miss Kenyon, and spoken to me by numerous neighbors who have only given me compliments.
And I think to be fair, they're trying to preserve their neighborhood. So she's wanting, you know, working together, being good neighbors and everything. I can definitely understand the both points of view on that. So she's, as president of the neighborhood association, is just trying to make sure that the standards are followed on there.
But it's not being held all the way across the board. You know what I mean? If you're going to go and approve a property, and you know, then and she does care about that, then she would have showed up and met with me when she asked to meet with me, and she would have taken my phone calls when I called her numerous times.
But that sounds like that's something between you and she, and that's not really something that we can take into consideration for our issues here. I'm going to go ahead and close the floor to testimony unless there's anyone else in the audience who wants to speak to this project. And then I will open the floor for discussion amongst my fellow commissioners. I think I might maybe go first. I think the big issue here is probably the fence, that it was not built as we originally approved it to be. And so I'd like to have some discussion about that and the brickwork on there. So Commissioner Owens, your hand is up.
Yes, I think that as you said, the fence is the biggest issue here. I think as far as the brick and its treatment, I think I'd even be okay with him working with city staff to come up with the best solution there, whether it be lime washing, using a different product or some sort of porous paint. I think as long as it's not just painted white with a non-porous paint, I think I'd be okay with, personally, with him just working with city staff on that. And as far as the fencing goes, I actually really understand wanting that large fence against the traffic way. I kind of sympathize with him on that. I do think we must have the fence dialed back in the front so that it meets up with the front corner of that porch at a minimum, and and I think it's okay to encompass that side porch as long as it doesn't cover the front of it. And it looks like there's already a railing in place on his side porch, so he may not even need to modify his porch to keep people out of the yard and to keep the dog in. And the vehicle gate must come down to 6 foot. And I'm not exactly sure how it's constructed. Like, if it could swing inwards without a total rebuild of the gates, I think I would suggest we have that done as well with respect to the blocking of the sidewalk.
Because of the slope, it's got a very steep angle. It can't open inward.
Okay. Well, anyway, those are my thoughts on how we should handle this case.
Anybody else on the commission want to speak to this? Dr. Guth, Commissioner Legg, Commissioner Courtney? Dr. Guth?
Yes, I'm just clarification, if we pull it back on the porch, if we pull the fence back to the front of the porch, are you recommending, Commissioner Owens, that it be 6 feet or 4 feet?
It sounds like it's supposed to be 4 foot by the city standards. Now, I
actually-
honestly feel like if it was 6 foot, but did not hide any of that side porch at all, as far as the front view, personally, I think that would be acceptable. It's a very short length of fence on the front. Once it's pulled back, it would be. That's my personal opinion on that.
I believe it was previously approved as a 6 foot, as a variant.
So we should stick to
Yeah.
closely to what was approved, since it was approved.
It was approved as 6 foot, but that was at the back of the porch. If I
Yeah.
understand that correct.
Uh,
Now we're talking about moving it to the front of the porch, which is a whole different thing.
Just a note, if it's behind the front of the house, it can be 6 feet.
Okay.
Behind the
Yeah.
front of the house.
So
Yeah, I
as long as
think-
it's back to that back corner of that front corner of the porch, it can get 6 feet from there back.
And from a usability standpoint and wanting to actually enjoy that porch with Southwest Trafficway barreling by right there, I think it's okay to encompass that porch as long as it's not blocking the front of it, in my opinion.
Thank you.
Dr. Guth, your hand is still up. Did you have anything else you wanted to add?
I'm just not clear with, will it start at the corner of the porch and not at the house so that the porch is still exposed fully and we leave some other kind of barrier up to the design of the homeowner for the porch itself?
No, I was
It appears
recommending
we already had
basically,
a barrier.
I was
ahead, Brad.
recommending to go to the basically the front corner of the porch, not to the back corner.
Right.
So only to that point. And so only that one section of the porch would have to have either a railing or something to keep it enclosed.
Okay, so the front of the porch itself would be seen.
Yes, that was basically what I was recommending, to be open back up so you can see the front.
Thank you.
And I do want to note that on the video tour, the exhibit Q, was it, whichever exhibit that was, there
R.
is a railing. There is a railing on the front of the porch today. So if you pulled it back and didn't want to spend any more money, that would at least keep the dog in.
Yeah, except for there's a step down. So like if you go out that sideway, and that's the reason it's more of an accessibility, because as you know, Southwest Trafficway is a very busy, and as Miss Kenyon pointed out, there's a lot of pedestrian activity around there as well. So it's like somebody could walk right into your house, you know?
Any other commissioners want to speak to this or perhaps have a motion?
I have a quick
Yeah.
question comment. I noticed in the 1940 tax photo that the porch was enclosed in a similar fashion as it is to the west side on that porch. Okay, maybe I made that up. I swear I saw it. Just kidding. Never mind.
Okay.
I'll make the motion if nobody else wants to volunteer.
Please do.
Can I ask one more thing? I just noticed in that photo that there was a lot of like foliage and stuff. Do you think if I was to put some landscaping in that covered the fence, that would be, I mean, because if I looked at that last photo from the 40s, it just looked like it had a bunch of bushes by the side of it and stuff like that. Is that something that would be acceptable so that people aren't seeing the fence, that they see nice trees?
I think the issue is that the fence right now covers that historic side porch. And so if you want to add landscaping to the fence, as we're going to request probably to have that fence moved back, then yeah, that would be fine, or along Southwest Trafficway. But leaving the fence as is and adding landscaping would probably not be acceptable to me, but I'm assuming to the rest of the commission.
Okay.
I think there's also the area, the thing of it, if it goes into the front yard, it will need a variance
Yes.
from the city. So you're just asking for a complication by having it where it is.
Okay. Thank you.
I will say too that you could use some sort of, I know with a lot of like CEPTED teaching safety through basically your environment, there are plants that they recommend planting to basically deter individuals from trying to enter the porch. Maybe some sharp pokey bushes, or, you know, something like that.
Right.
So there's other options there as well with landscaping.
Okay.
And that, Brad, correct me if I'm wrong, if he was going to propose landscaping, would that be something that he could work with you on? Would that need another permit, or would?
No, usually it's just like bushes and we usually don't require permits for those types
Okay.
of things.
Just
It's
wanted
just
to make sure.
major trees and stuff is what we usually review. So.
Okay. Very good.
And on a friendly note, not part of anything we're going to direct you to do, I think it would be great if you want to plant along that fence that faces Southwest Trafficway to perhaps appease the historic board of your neighborhood.
Yeah, I got no problem doing anything. I'm just trying to keep the fence the way I can without, I'm just worried about like somebody running out there, you know, and my dog is a Vizsla, and, you know, those who have pet, I mean, he could easily run out into that traffic way. I mean, that's just a major, and anybody who's moving there with a pet is going to have the same concern that I do, or small children.
And I totally sympathize with you because I also live on the traffic way, a couple houses up, but yeah, it's a concern of mine as well. And I totally sympathize with that.
Thank you. Yeah, I think sometimes, like I said, safety has to take, I get the brick thing. I get a lot of the things that you guys are talking about. I didn't change any of the windows. I tried to keep it historically as best I could. This fence was just a safety issue. And, you know, it would have saved me a lot of money not to build one. Trust me. I would have rather not build one if I was going to have a problem with it, you know, because it would have saved me just a lot of money.
We're not asking you to remove all of the fence. What we're asking is for that front part to just come back to the porch. And then if you screen that porch, or there's already a barrier on that porch, you still have the safety there. So we're
just having a hard time visualizing it in my head. Maybe is the
right.
issue.
And that could be something that you work with Brad on, but
yeah.
we're only asking for the front part. I'm assuming, Sean or Commissioner Owens, that's what you're going to ask, but
Absolutely.
We're not asking you to remove the entire fence.
Absolutely. And hopefully you can just reuse, you know, the parts of that fence, just take it apart and kind of reconstruct it, and you'll have a little extra waste after that. But I want to tell you, Mr. Carnes, that we do really appreciate the work you've done on this property. It has been an eyesore for a very long time. And I think almost everything you're doing here is amazing. Keeping the windows was a great choice, and we're all very happy about that as well. And we're not here to cause you an issue or give you a hard time, but we just want to maintain really the front view of your home for everyone to enjoy. And I really, truly think that working with city staff, you can figure out some ways to make it, to find a middle ground here where we peel your fence back a little bit, but it can still work and it'll still be safe. And I'm very confident that we can figure that out together. So
I'm just gonna have to sell my. I'm gonna have to sell my wife on that.
Well, at least it's not going to be your fault. You can blame us, right?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. It's
So,
always my fault.
Let's go ahead and make a motion just to keep this going because we have a few more. So go ahead, Sean.
Absolutely. So in case number 2020-00123 at 804 West 33rd Street within the Coleman Highlands Historic District, I move that the commission approve a certificate of appropriateness to remove the window and treat portions of the exterior. I won't say paint, I'm gonna use the word treat. Working with city staff on the final plan of what that treatment will be, as those items are in conformance with Secretary of Interior standards for rehabilitations number 2, 5, and 9. The proposal to amend the application to construct the fence and construct the auto gate are in partial conformance and partial violation with the standards for rehabilitations numbers 2, 5, 9, and 10. I recommend that the fence two things. The auto gate be lowered to 6 foot, and that the side facing southwest trafficway and be peeled back so that the front plane of the fence on the front of the house be in line with the front of the house, meaning the fence will terminate at the front porch. And I believe that's it.
And that's
Okay.
the
Yeah, yeah, I
south
can see
facing
6.
side?
It would
The-
be, yes.
Yeah, not along Southwest Trafficway.
No, that should remain in place minus the 6 feet that will be removed because of pushing the south side back.
Okay.
I hope
Okay.
that makes sense.
So we have a motion to,
So, okay, I think I get what you guys, I was having a hard time. So you're just basically saying connect.
okay, yes.
Second.
Well, yeah, so Walter or Dr. Guth has seconded. What we have is a motion to work with staff on the treatment of the brick on the house. We are requesting that the height of the auto gate be lowered to 6 feet and left in place, but lowered to 6 feet, and that the portion of the fence that is in the front yard be moved back to the corner of the porch along the south elevation.
Okay.
Commissioner Owens?
If I may, I want to just show a quick picture to the applicant, a drawing.
Can we
Just-
vote on this first?
Sure. I just wanted to explain to him what we're voting on.
Yeah, I get it. I just think we need to vote on this, and then
Okay.
we can discuss that in a minute. So we
Okay.
have the motion. Dr. Guth is seconded. We'll do a roll call vote. Commissioner Owens,
Aye.
Commissioner Courtney,
Aye.
Dr. Guth,
Aye.
Commissioner Legg.
Aye.
I also vote aye. So the motion passes 5-0. And then Commissioner Owens, did you want to show him real quick?
Yeah, just real quick. So if you can see here, the pink area is where your fence is today, and that's the part to be removed. This is the corner. This is the front of your house and the corner of your side porch. And this area would be what would be new. And all of this is existing, and it's existing to remain. Does that make sense, sir?
Yeah, so you just want it, no fence there.
Not in front of this porch.
Okay.
Just moved back, yeah.
Yep.
And we'll just have you work with staff to kind of go over the specifics of that.
Yep, I can do that.
All right, thank you. Let's move on.
Thank you guys for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Let's see, let me go back to my agenda here. So case number 2020-00124, 514 Bell Fountain Avenue in Scarlet Point Historic District.
Yes, Lauren's going to actually be presenting this one. So she'll switch over and put her PowerPoint up.
Ms. Manning's back. Wait,
Yeah,
you
you'll
were
have to
back
go
last
easy on
month.
me, guys.
Excellent. Okay. Let's see. We have, did we have anyone in attendance that the applicant, is the applicant here?
Oh, yes. Excuse me. Let me get the applicant here.
Okay. And I think I see. Oh, no.
Yes, Mr. Luke's here.
All
And let me get Jacob Luke also,
Very good.
the property owner. Yep, they're both here now.
Okay. Misters Luke and Luke. Would you be able to, Mr. Bob and Mr. Jacob, put yourselves on or unmute yourselves and show your video? All right, great. Would you both raise your or state your names and addresses for the record?
Not much left in here.
This is Jacob Luke. I'm at 514 Bell Fountain Avenue, Kansas City, Missouri. And I swear to tell the truth.
All right, you're getting ahead of me. And Bob Luke.
This is Bob Luke. I'm at 13900 Canaan Street, Overland Park, Kansas.
All right. And both of you raise your right hand and swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
I do.
Great. Very good. Thank you. So the exhibits in the staff report are too many screens up here. A through Q, is that correct?
Yeah.
Are there any new exhibits?
Nope.
All right. And is there any objection to admitting these exhibits to the record from our commission? All righty then.
All right.
Then staff, you can proceed.
Okay, bear with me. Am I doing this right? All right. Okay, so in case number CHDR 2020000124 of 514, is it Bellefontaine Avenue?
That's how I was always taught to say it.
Okay, I always thought it was Bellefontaine. So if I say it wrong, bear with me. Bellefontaine Avenue and Scarrett Point Historic District. This application requests a certificate of appropriateness to construct a two-car detached garage on the property at 514 Bellefontaine Avenue, the contributing property. The applicant proposes to construct a two-car detached garage behind the home at the rear of the property. The garage will be 22 feet deep by 22 feet wide and will set back 6 feet from the west property line and 7 feet from the north and south property lines. The roof will be flat, featuring a patio and railing around it with a spiral staircase on the north side for access. The garage will be clad in lapboard siding to match the house. The scope of work will be minimally visible from Fountain Avenue.
I don't know that we're actually seeing your presentation.
I haven't been sliding them because I'm reading. I'm who I am.
That's okay.
Okay, here's the 1940 photo and our survey photo. This is currently what the site looks like. The garage will be built for two cars and is secondary in size to the house. It will be situated directly behind the house and will have very limited visibility from the public right of way. The garage will be built with compatible materials and design, and if removed from the future, the essential form and integrity of the historic structure and its environment will be unimpaired to conformance with the Secretary of Interior Standards Rehabilitation number 9 and 10. So here are the plans. You can see the house and the garage. Lot lines. It's kind of faint, but it's your site.
Are you able to increase the size of the presentations?
Can you just see my side? Let me see.
We're just seeing the presenters.
Oh. Okay, hold on. I'm sharing the wrong thing then. Let me.
I did that earlier today.
I'm sharing the screen and not the PowerPoint. There we go. Sorry. I did this last time. Okay. Go here. Well, maybe.
Just hit from beginning. You can always click through it.
I clicked beginning. Sorry, guys.
I think that's better anyway. So
yeah,
can
you
you
probably
see that?
scroll through those.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, I can't see on my side what you guys can see. Oh.
We
Okay,
just
here we
see
go.
the very first slide.
Okay. Get out of this thing. Sorry, everyone.
Okay.
Now are we switching?
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay, guys. I apologize. Okay, so this is the site. Here are the plans. Take a second to make it, I think. (22 by 22 with the setbacks. Here's your overall design. And this is a neighborhood example of 500 Bell Fountain, just a few doors down. So yeah.
All right.
That's what I have for now.
Are there more slides beyond slide number 12? I don't think we saw the second half of the presentation, maybe.
Go easy. Okay. Just that one.
Okay, that one looks like the number 13 is the next case, it looks like.
Yeah. I think it's a go full.
Okay, does that conclude the staff report?
Yes.
Okay, very good.
Sorry.
That's all right. Are there any questions for staff from the commission? Commissioner Owens.
So this is a flat roofed garage?
Yes.
Is that right? Obviously there must be some sort of slope, but is the deck on top, is it just on the roof or is that a raised deck? Do you know?
We're looking at a raised deck.
Okay.
Slightly, about 6 inches to be off the membrane roof.
Right. I would suppose you wouldn't want it to be sloping. Okay. Understood.
Right. Thank you.
Any other questions for staff before we let the applicants testimony or testify? All right. If not, Misters Luke and Luke, would you like to speak to your project?
We're just looking to put a 2-car garage in the back, just be more safety and secure for us, I guess, like a couple cars off the front of the street. Looking to match the colors of the house. That's about it.
Okay. Are there any questions for the applicants from the commission? Commissioner Owens?
Yes. Quick question. It wouldn't be part of our purview, but have you worked at all with the city on stormwater runoff or any of those sort of issues? It looks like you're adding a lot of pavement to the lot.
We have not ready to submit plans to the city. Lot pretty much drains from the, it's fairly flat, but what drainage there is drains from the front of the house to the back.
Okay, well, we'll let the city deal with any of those issues. Just curious. Thank you.
Good point.
Any other questions for the applicants? All right. If not, wait, did someone say something? Oh no, I'm hearing background noise. Okay, is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak to this?
I don't see anybody.
Seeing none, I will close the floor to testimony and allow the commission to discuss or perhaps make a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Please do.
All right. Oh, Dr. Guth, did you have?
Oh, sorry, Dr. Guth, I didn't see your hand.
Go ahead and I'll second it.
Okay.
All right, so in case number 2020-00124 at 514 Bell Fountain Avenue in the Scarrett Point Historic District, I move that we approve the certificate of appropriateness to construct a 2-car detached garage on the property. And this is in conformance with the Secretary of the Interior Standards for Rehabilitation numbers 9 and 10, and the design guidelines are good for 2 years.
And I second that.
Very good. So we have a motion to approve by Commissioner Legg and a second from Dr. Guth. Is there any discussion on the motion? If not, I will take a roll call vote. And Commissioner Courtney, how do you vote?
Aye.
Dr. Guth,
Aye.
Commissioner Owens,
Aye.
Commissioner Legg,
Aye.
and I also vote aye. So the motion passes 5-0. Good luck on your project.
All right, thanks for your time.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, does anyone need to take a break or can we just keep going? Keep going. Great, let's move on. So, God, where's my agenda? So we have case number CHDR 2020126 at 3660 Bellevue Avenue in the Roanoke Historic District.
Yes, we have the contractor and the applicant, right? And the property owner present.
I can barely hear you, Brad.
Let me promote them both to panelists.
All right.
Yeah.
Dr. Guth, your hand is up. Did you have a question?
Oh,
okay. Thank you.
So yeah, we have the contractor, Mary Thompson, and the property owner, Greg Mermis,
Great.
are before you.
Very good. Greg, Mr. Mermis, could you turn on your video? Great. Awesome. So I will ask Mary Thompson if you would state your name and address for the record first, and then I will ask Mr. Mermis to do the same.
Mary Thompson, address is 10312 Walmer Street, Overland Park, Kansas.
All right. And Mr. Mermis, could you state your name and address?
Greg Mermis, 3660 Bellevue, Kansas City, Missouri.
All right. And would you both raise your right hands? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
I do.
Awesome. Thank you very much. The exhibits in the staff report looks like we have
A through P.
A through P. Do we have any new exhibits?
There are no new exhibits.
All right. Is there any objection to admitting these for the record? If not, would you like to go ahead with the staff report?
Yes, the property address is 3660 Bellevue Avenue. It's a contributing property in the Roanoke Historic District. Here's the main facade of the house. Kind of looking towards down the driveway. Photo on the left is the property to the south, and photo on the right is the properties to the north. And this is the location of the proposed carport. Here's kind of an aerial view to give you an idea. So the applicant is proposing to construct a 24 by 26 foot 6-inch carport on the southwest corner of the backyard. The carport will have a hipped roof with stained Douglas fir posts and a clay tile roof to match the house. The walls on the north, south, and west sides of the carport will be covered in cedar shingles to meet a fire rating requirement. So basically, it will have 3 walls, but the front of it will be open, basically facing towards Bellevue Avenue. The new carport will be located at the rear of the property, and the size and massing will be in scale with the house in conformance with standards 2 and 9 in the design guidelines. The tile roof, cedar shingles, and stained Douglas fir will be compatible with features of the house in conformance with standard number 9. And if removed in the future, the essential form and integrity of the property and the environment will be unimpaired in conformance with standard number 10. And that concludes the staff report.
Fantastic. Thank you. Do any of my commissioners have questions for staff before we allow the applicants to speak? Hearing none. Mary or Greg, would you like to speak to the project?
You want to go ahead, Greg?
Well, sure. Yes, we have having some covered parking would be, very beneficial to us, keeping our cars out of the weather and the hailstorms that seem to blow through every spring. We, do have an old carriage house that's not visible from the picture on the screen now, but it's functionally obsolete. We were able to fit a Mini Cooper in when we moved in, but since moving the driveway and doing a few other things, it's not suitable anymore for putting cars in. So it's used for storage as indicated in the exhibits submitted. But really, that's really all I have to offer. I'm happy to address any kind of concerns that the commission may have, but I don't have any other prepared remarks.
All right, thank you. Ms. Thompson, did you have anything to add?
I suppose the only thing I would add is that we've done quite a bit of work in the Roanoke neighborhood. In fact, Mr. Murmas and his wife were I think maybe our second client, maybe about 7 years ago or so. And we've been consistently in the neighborhood just about nonstop since then, working from project to project. One of the first projects we did, I guess the thing is we love that neighborhood. We love the historic nature of that neighborhood. The first project we did was over 20 years ago around the corner on Valentine. I don't know if anybody's familiar with the Owens house. That's the big white colonial plantation home that when we got to it had been clad in aluminum, and including the pilasters and even the columns were clad in aluminum siding. And so, they commissioned us to take all that off and restore it. So we, from day one, that's the kind of work we've been doing in the neighborhood, and we're very conscientious about keeping the architecture, in keeping with the neighborhood.
Great.
So that's what we're trying to do with this.
Great, thank you. Do we have any questions from the commission for the applicants? Commissioner Owens, and then Commissioner Guth.
I have a question on the project design, but first I might mention that I grew up in that house you were just talking about, and I was living there when you guys worked on it. So
well, sure, yeah.
Beautiful work, and actually that whole process kind of inspired me to follow this whole path I've followed, and why I'm on the commission anyway. So
that's great. I thought the name was familiar, but
yeah. As far as the design of the carport, it looks like there's a gap maybe between the cedar walls and the tile roof. Is that, will we see an exposed truss there? Is that what I'm seeing?
Yeah. I'd like to answer that. The design of the carport is one of the challenges we faced was having to span the driveway without a supporting post. Mm-hmm. And one of the only ways to do that is with steel. So sure. What I did was took inspiration from bridges of that time where you have a lattice truss or lattice beam constructed that would be able to span that distance yet keep it light enough that it wasn't just a giant I-beam. So I went to the trouble of sourcing square-headed bolts and nuts so that the beams themselves will be almost a dead-on replica of what a bridge structure would have been from that time period. And the reason the city has required us to do a firewall on the two sides, mm-hmm. So the actual rear of the property directly to the Owens house has to have a fire-rated wall behind it. So those two beams themselves won't be exposed on the outside because I have to do fire rock and all of that kind of stuff. But what we're trying to do is keep that steel structure exposed on the inside so that when you walk into the carport, you see this sort of lovely lattice work of steel that is this sort of reminiscent of 1900, 1904, kind of an industrial bridge. Mm-hmm. The roof is going to be covered with the clay tile shingles from the original house. They're having their house retiled because it has some leaks. So we're going to take the leftover shingles and reuse those on the carport. So as much of that stays original as possible. What doesn't show on the drawings is the original carport has a little bit of wing on the bottom 3 feet. So it comes down at a pitch and then it changes slightly. So it has a little bit of a bird's wing look. And so that's what we're going to do on the carport. It's very difficult to show it on the software.
Sure.
But I think that it's just going to be a really cool looking piece of architecture. And again, I've worked in this neighborhood for a long time. I actually own 827 Valentine, which is just around the corner. And
Can I interrupt you for just a second? Could you state your name for the record? We didn't swear you in.
We've been doing this for 40 years now. So
Joe Thompson.
Joe Thompson.
Joe Thompson. All right. And do you swear that everything you've said is the truth and everything?
Yeah.
And nothing but the truth.
Swear and don't wash my mouth out with soap.
Thank you.
Well, we actually do own 827 Valentine, which is just right there around the corner. We just finished the full-on renovation of that, really taking it back to what it was originally, because and we restored all of the windows in the house with the exception of 2 that were falling apart, and we couldn't save. But we tried to source something that was almost exactly the original replica, and that's just my passion from day one. I really want this to sort of be a statement piece, because this stuff has to hold up for 100 years. 100 years from now, I want somebody to look at it and go, "Hey, that's cool." So.
Yes. Well, hey, I really appreciate the explanation, and I think the intent sounds like it'll be a very beautiful project, and I'm impressed that the tile roof will actually be from the original house. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
All right, Dr. Guth.
Just a question about the interior wall facing Bellevue. Is it going to be finished with cedars?
Underside of the roof will actually be exposed, so you'll see all of the heavy timbers that we're going to use for that. And then the interior walls are actually going to be lined with a fir and then stained to match the fir 8x8 posts, so that all of that has a really kind of lovely wood feel to it. The timbers, the big giant 8x12 timbers are actually all in fir too. So we're going to stain all of that interior so it has a really cool, industrial vibe to it, kind of thing there.
Thank you.
Right, and Commissioner Legg, you had your hand up. Did you need to add or say anything? All right. There's any other questions for the applicants from the commission? If not, we can open the floor to public testimony if there's anyone who wishes to speak to this project.
Yeah. We have Mr. Dalen. I'm promoting him to a panelist so he can testify.
All right, Mr. Dalen, if you could turn your video on and unmute yourself. All right, and could you state your name and address for the record, please?
Jason Dalen, 3666 Bellevue Avenue.
All right, and would you raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Great. What is your testimony?
Good afternoon. We live at 3666 Bellevue Avenue, as I mentioned, directly south of the subject property. We lived there for about 11 and a half years. We're opposed to the construction of the carport really for 3 reasons. First, it's a departure from the norms and aesthetics of the historic Roanoke neighborhood. Second, it would be the second significant structure on this small property, also a departure from the norms of the neighborhood. And third, sets bad precedent for future construction within our historical neighborhood. According to the Kansas City Urban Design Guidelines, new outbuildings should not be highly visible from public view, and should reflect the features of neighboring historic secondary buildings. The proposed carport really is inconsistent with both of those guidelines. It will clearly be viewable from Bellevue, and it's a carport would be an original, or would be the first carport in this neighborhood. So no other property has a carport. The size and scope of this carport is significant. And like I said, would be able to be seen from the public. And we've talked to lots of neighbors. A carport is really not consistent with a historical neighborhood in the midtown of Kansas City. It's really more appropriate for rural and suburban areas with larger tracts of property. Second is that no other property in Roanoke has multiple separate structures from the main house. As was stated earlier, and I think from the aerial shot, you could see there's already a significant size carriage house on the property. This would be a second significant size structure on the property. And frankly, I'm not one typically to object to somebody using the property or doing what they want on their own property, but we think this sets bad precedent for others who want to build second and third and fourth structures, I suppose, on their properties in the neighborhood. I did look through the Secretary of Interior standards and from the staff report. The proposal does look like it will be consistent and complementary to the existing house on the property, but it certainly won't be complementary to the aesthetics and the norms of the rest of the neighborhood. We took our concerns and talked to the Homes Association here, the Roanoke Protective Homes Association. They agree that our concerns are valid and encouraged us to come and speak to you all today. So given the scope and purpose of the project, the substantial change to the property, the significant departure from the neighborhood's aesthetics and norms, and the precedent it sets for our neighborhood, we respectfully request that the application be denied.
Thank you for your testimony. Is there any questions for Mr. Dalen? If not, do we have anyone else who wishes to speak to this project? Looks like
yes, Ms. Thompson.
All right. And if you could unmute and turn on your video if you can. All right, Mr. Thompson, if you could state your name and address for the record, please.
Kelly Thompson, 915 Valentine Road.
All right. Would you raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Awesome. What is your testimony today?
First, I wanted to just say I've lived in the neighborhood for 21 years. We've lived in 2 different houses in the neighborhood and love the neighborhood, love the people of the neighborhood. What Greg and Lisa have done with that house is amazing, and we really appreciate them as neighbors. My concern, which mimics what Mr. Dalen said, is adding a third significant structure to the site. And I agree with it. I do think it sets a bad precedence for future. It's the best I can tell, the lot's a little over a quarter acre. And to have a third roof structure on the site seems to be not a good precedent to set. And that's really all my concern was. I have no issues with the design of it. It looks cool. And I think architectural craftsmen have done a lot of jobs in the neighborhood and they've always done a good job. So I have no issues with the actual design. It's just the precedents that having the third structure would set. And that's it.
All right. Thank you for your testimony. Anyone else?
There is one more, Ms. Goodman.
All right. Ms. Goodman, if you could unmute yourself and turn your video on if you can.
Hello.
Hi. If you could state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Glenda Goodman. My address is 3657 Bellevue.
All right. And would you raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Great. What is your testimony today?
Thank you for your time. I am directly across the street from this property. So from my dining room window, we'll look at this new structure. My late husband, Kerry, and I have owned and lived in, which included restoring and landscaping 2 different houses in the neighborhood between 1972 and today. That would be 48 years. During that time, it's always been a priority to us, and we have always been involved in helping and encouraging neighbors to enhance their property and be very cognizant of aesthetics. My concern about this project is that although there's been a lot of attention given to the design and finishing of the interior of the structure, it still remains an open carport. And an open garage / carport never contribute to the aesthetics of any property, and especially to this beautiful property. So I would like to encourage the commission, if you choose to issue a certificate of appropriateness, that you consider requiring that the design be altered to include garage doors. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Goodman. Right, is there anyone else who wishes to speak to this? I don't see any hands raised over there.
I do not see any.
All right, so we will close the floor to testimony and allow the commission to discuss. Commissioner Owens.
I do want to say, although I do very much appreciate this design standing alone, and I think the aesthetics are good, I do hear the neighbors, and I think they do bring up a good point about precedent and about the fact that there is already one outbuilding, a quite sizable one at this property, and the neighboring garage would butt up right against this new carport. So I think we should consider how that would affect the aesthetics of the neighborhood. Also, it would be completely visible from the street because it's just a straight shot down that driveway. I think perhaps the idea of adding doors may be onto something. I think a carport, now that I think about it, may not be appropriate for Roanoke. It's a carriage house neighborhood. Carports don't exist here. So I'm feeling torn. I love the design of the structure, but I'm not sure if it is appropriate. So anybody have any other thoughts about that stuff?
Dr. Guth, you're muted.
My question is really for staff. I think I like the neighbors' input on their really legitimate questions, and I wonder if it's outside our purview, if it's with zoning. It sounds like maybe there's a zoning issue or potential zoning issue with the third structure being added to the lot.
No, I don't believe there was one that I'm aware of, because they were actually already going through the permitting process. So I think that wasn't actually an overall issue with the lot. They did have to add the walls for setback reasons for fire code. Originally, it was just going to be an open structure. No, and there really isn't a limit to the number of outbuildings.
So then basically it has already gone through city process and been approved.
Yeah, they're already gone through permitting, so they're just waiting on our approval right now.
Okay, so the only real question is about the historic governing this thing about a precedent. I'd like to hear your thoughts on that, Brad.
You're right. There aren't that I'm aware of any carports in Roanoke I can think of. And there are basically mostly carriage houses. In terms of setback, etc., a lot of these outbuildings are very, very close together. So I don't necessarily see an issue with it being close to the neighboring structure because most of them are kind of packed in there throughout Roanoke. Whether you can see the car or not, right now it's basically just a parking pad. So it's really not going to be changing that from the existing view from the neighborhood. What you see, what is there currently. So that's not going to change a lot. And usually, at least historically, and unless there's great visibility, especially considering the setback of it, usually give a little bit more leeway in these types of properties when they're located all the way towards the back of the properties. So That's why generally staff is recommending approval in this case. Because especially given the fact that it's a district and we're kind of, usually these areas are very secondary compared to the basically the front yard or to the direct side of the house. So.
All right, Commissioner Legg. You're muted.
Saw that the property owner had raised his hand. I didn't know if
Yes.
he was responding to somebody else before I start.
I'm gonna let you go ahead and speak, and then we'll ask him. Yeah.
Okay. Because I have a few things. Nothing crazy. I had a question for him about. I'm sure he's gone through this, but expanding the opening of the carport to use that. And I was wondering also if they've explored the option of shifting the carport so it's actually like completely hidden from the right-of-way behind the home, or somehow connecting it to the side of the carriage house, making it kind of a, I guess, secondary structure to the or attached to the carriage house itself. But also, if that was an option, would that be considered something that could be removed in the future as even where it is now, if that would be considered something that could be removed in the future for maintaining the historic look of the property. But I do hear what the neighbors are saying, and those were kind of some options I was thinking while everybody was talking.
All right. And Mr. Murmas, if you wanted to respond or speak.
Well, yes, a couple of the points. I mean, there are other properties in the Roanoke district that have multiple outbuildings, and I can think of two on the north side of the property that do. I walk my dogs by them every day, so that's an inaccurate statement. We're open to putting doors on the carport. I mean, as you'll note from the picture that's being shown right now, only one bay would be visible from the street at any given time, and it'd be on the south side. The other two bays or the remainder of the carport wouldn't be visible. But, if it would address some of the concerns of the commission, yeah, we'd be happy to consider that or do that as part of the approval process. And it certainly may make the neighbors happier. So we'd be willing to do that. And Commissioner Legg, addressing your concern, the area that you're addressing, the attachment, part of the limitations we have is it's a concrete pad, and the carport has to be over the pad. The rest of the area that to the north of that is, it's I guess recreational area. It's a landscaped area. It's kind of living area for the house. So it's not practical at all for us to do that. And in fact, I think it detract further, from the perceived, concerns of people that, as far as making it a less attractive property. And I'm going to take the opportunity to say this. I'm disappointed in my neighbors for not having voiced this to me. They've received the notice in the mail quite a while ago. I think, this originally was planned for November 2nd. They apparently complained about it, got to put on this docket. Nobody has said a word to me about this. And these are direct contiguous neighbors, and just very, very disappointed that they didn't have the integrity to come talk to me about this, but chose this venue as the first time to raise these concerns to me. But I'm happy to address any further questions.
Maybe working with, it sounds like you'd be willing to work with staff to kind of address some of these concerns as well. I think my one thing that I wanted to say is that I don't think that there would have been any discussion or perhaps any objections if you had proposed to tear down the existing garage, but I was really excited that you wanted to keep that as part of the historic property. And so I guess I looked at it as a little bit differently, that you're keeping this amazing carriage house and then adding something in order to preserve that historic building that's back there. So I was actually really excited about the carport. So I also understand the neighbors' concerns. And so if you are willing I'm not suggesting at all tearing down the existing garage that's back there. But if you're willing to work with staff, maybe about moving some of the carport or adding doors, I think that sounds like a good compromise.
Yeah, and let me be clear, moving it is not an option. It just isn't.
Okay.
I mean, if you came out and walked the property, you'd see, and you can see from the picture on the screen now where the concrete pad is. I mean, it has to be located, over that pad.
Okay.
And we wanted to maximize the I guess, utility of it by utilizing all of that. And as I pointed out from my initial comments, you'll only see a third of the carport at any given time as you would walk by the property or drive by. It won't be that visible, notwithstanding maybe some of the suggestions some of the other people on the call have made.
Okay. All right. Well, we will close the floor to testimony and maybe entertain any motion from a commission to maybe make a motion on this. Commissioner Legg.
What exactly are we leaning toward here? Are we leaning toward approving it with the condition that he will work with city staff to modify the structure, or are we approving it as is because it does fit into, it is in conformance? I'm a little confused on what our stance is here. Because I don't think I would have had like you said, I would have had any issue with it, except for taking into consideration what the neighbors' concerns were.
Yeah, I guess I could let Dr. Guth, if you had a question on that or some information. You're muted. There you go.
Yeah, and I guess it actually goes to the architects, whether or not it is viable to add garage doors to it, because I think that would alleviate at least neighbors' complaint about it being a carport, because there shouldn't be a complaint about there being a garage.
Yeah, I think we can definitely work with the Murmases about putting a garage door on the front. But I'm guessing that's okay with you, Greg.
Yeah, I mean, right now people are looking at cars, so I mean, I don't understand that aspect of it. Right now, you walk by, you see cars parked there. A carport, you continue to see cars. I guess it's the roof line that it's issue, but as Joe and Mary mentioned, we've gone through great pains and great expense in order to design this so that it would mesh with the design of the house and the carriage house on the property. And as you can know, you can barely see that from the street as it is. So it's not as though we're encumbering this property with a bunch of buildings that are visible from the street. You can't hardly see the carriage house, maybe a glimpse of it, as you walk by on the north side of the property on the sidewalk. And I think you'll have the same experience with this one, just seeing a slice of it as you walk by on the south side. But yeah, I mean, we're happy to, if people don't like looking at cars, we can put a garage door on it, but they're looking at them now. So, that's a little bit of a silly suggestion, but we're happy to do that if that would persuade people to approve it.
I do have a comment about carports. There are a couple of properties that I'm aware of that do have a carport. One is the home that we own on Valentine at 827 Valentine. It has a portico, and we just finished doing some work on that house where we brought a driveway for off-street parking. We brought a driveway off of Madison rather than off of Valentine, so that it would connect with that portico. So it makes it essentially a carport up there. There's also a garage off-street off of Valentine that's at basement level. So it's sort of a stacked garage carport scenario there. Also, the Frank Lloyd Wright house down the street on Bellevue has a carport on it as well. And there are other homes that have multiple structures behind them too.
Okay, Commissioner Owens, your hand was raised?
Very quick comment here. As far as any concerns of carports becoming a precedent in this neighborhood and the danger of that, I do want to point out that this isn't just some Butler building carport. This is a very well designed architectural piece. And I think in the future, if we start seeing more carports in Roanoke, maybe our commission just needs to make sure that they're worthy of the grandeur and architecture and historic nature of the neighborhood, as I do believe this one is. And I think that that's something we can always think about in the future. And so with that in mind, I feel like maybe it's not a dangerous precedent because it's a significant structure.
Dr. Guth?
I am in favor of passing it as staff recommended because I think it passes the muster of everything that we're allowed to look at. It's completely okay with the city and it meets the Secretary of the Interior standards.
Would you like to make a motion?
I will shortly, but I want to make something else on it. I want it to be part of our motion to recommend to the architect and the owner that they consider making it a garage instead of a carport. I think that's something that it has to do with good neighbor relations on it, how they work that out. But I am in favor of passing it as written. And with that, unless anybody has any more comments, I will make the motion.
Go for it.
Okay. In case number 202000162, 3660 Bellevue Avenue in the Roanoke Historic District, I recommend we issue a certificate of appropriateness to construct a carport on the property, as it is in conformance with standards number 2 and 9 of the design guidelines. The tile roof, cedar shingles, and stained Douglas fir will be compatible with the features of the house in conformance with standard 9. And if it removed in the future, the essential form and integrity of the house and its environment will be unimpaired in conformance with standard number 10.
Fantastic. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Owens. Is there any discussion on the motion? If not, I'll take a roll call vote. Commissioner Courtney?
Aye.
Commissioner Dr. Guth?
Aye.
Commissioner Owens?
Aye.
Commissioner Legg?
Aye.
And I also vote aye. The motion passes. Okay, you guys, I have an appointment at 3:45 that I need to leave for. So will we lose quorum?
We will, but we'll see if we can, we'll see if we can work with that for the next meeting potentially, but I'll talk to the applicant and see what we can do. So.
All right. Do I need to make a motion to continue that?
Yeah.
All right.
Number 128.
Do I have a motion to continue case number 00128?
So moved.
Commissioner Owens, do I have a second?
Second.
Second.
Commissioner Legg, I'll do a roll call vote. Commissioner Courtney?
Aye.
Dr. Guth?
Aye.
Commissioner Owens?
Aye.
Commissioner Legg?
Aye.
I also vote aye. So that will be continued. And I guess we'll need a motion to adjourn.
To adjourn, yep.
Oh, wait.
Yes, Dr. Guth.
What about the other, let's see, the HUDs, et cetera, that were continued from last time?
If you just want to basically make a motion to continue the remainder of the docket, with all the items, I think that would be
so
fine.
Moved.
Dr. Guth, do I have a second?
Second.
Second.
Commissioner Owens. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 I vote aye. Any opposed?
Nope.
All right. Now I have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Dr. Guth? Commissioner
Second.
Courtney, you want a second?
Second.
Commissioner Courtney. And all those in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, all in favor to adjourn. Thank you, and I'm really sorry, and we can all get mad at Mike for not being here today.
Hope you make it on time.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
So are we not doing anything else today?
No, we are all done for the day, so we'll reschedule that for the next meeting.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye.
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 Thank you.
Hmm.